Welcome, everybody. I am specially recording this masterclass for all of those who could not attend, since on that particular day we had a house full and we could not enable more of you to connect on to the Zoom masterclass. So, before we begin, I want you to keep in mind one real team throughout the session. This team could be your department, one business unit, or perhaps the leadership team reporting to the CEO. Now, ask yourself a simple question. Are they genuinely producing the impact you expect from them? Because most organizations don't really have a strategy problem. They have a strategy to execution problem. Somewhere between deciding what matters and what people should be doing daily, something gets lost. Priorities become diluted, actions become disconnected, and accountability becomes inconsistent. Today, we are going to look at the entire chain from strategy to priorities to actions to accountability and finally results. And as we go along, I want you to identify the weakest link in the team that you have just selected. So let's see what leaders across the world have been talking about execution. Now, none of us needs convincing that execution is important. In fact, some of the most respected thinkers on leadership and strategy have been saying this for years. This slide cites Ram Charan, John Doerr, Robin Sharma, and the four disciplines of execution, making essentially the same point. That is, ideas are valuable, but ideas by themselves don't create business outcomes. The challenge starts after the strategy has been decided. How do we get hundreds or thousands of people to consistently do the few things that move it forward? That is why execution isn't simply a management activity, it is truly a leadership capability. And yet, there's an uncomfortable contradiction sitting behind all this. So, what is it costing us? Because if there is merely another leadership concept, we can all nod and move on. But when execution breaks down, opportunities are delayed, effort gets wasted, and the targets start slipping. People work extremely hard, but too much energy goes into low impact activities. And eventually, that shows up in margins, engagement, risk, and business performance. This slide frames the potential execution loss as 20 to 30%. Whether your exact number is higher or lower, the question is still worth asking. If your organization is, say, 500 crore business, even a small execution gap can represent a very large number in terms of money. So instead of asking, what does an execution system cost? Perhaps we should be asking, what is doing nothing costing us? Now, let me give a simple test. Suppose I walk you into an organizational room, into your organization tomorrow and randomly ask 10 people, what are our top three priorities this year? How consistent would their answer be? Now, I've asked those same people, what three things did you personally do last week to move these priorities forward? I suspect the second question would produce a very different conversation. And that is the heart of execution gap. It is the distance between knowing what matters and then consistently doing what matters. The interesting part is that this gap usually doesn't appear in just one place. This picture makes the chain very simple. First, strategy has to become clear enough for people to understand what really matters. If that doesn't happen, we have a clarity gap. Next, people have to translate those very priorities into meaningful daily and weekly actions. If they don't, we have an action gap. Then these actions need consistent follow through, review, and ownership. That is the accountability gap. Good strategies, therefore, don't always fail because people are unwilling. They often fail because the connection between these stages are weak. And then this brings us to one of the strangest things about modern organizations. Your organization has systems for everything except execution. Look around most organizations today, and you will find that they have systems for finance, CRM, operation, HRMS, marketing systems are also available as also sales for measuring the pipeline. But here's the question I want you to think. What system tells you what people are doing this week to create next month's results? So most systems are very good at telling us what has already happened. Execution needs something slightly different. It needs visibility into what is really happening now.